Hello everyone, my name is Havian and today I'll be playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake. If this is your first time seeing this game, it's a remake of one of the best-selling JRPGs of all time. These days you can get the original Final Fantasy VII digitally on most current platforms, but since it's over 20 years old, it's pretty easy for it to be overlooked by people that are interested in the latest games. But it seems like thanks to a lot of old fans wanting an updated version of Final Fantasy VII, and Square Enix wanting to modernize the game for people that probably weren't even around when the original released, we now have the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Recently Square Enix invited me down to an event to try the game and play through various sections of it. It's definitely a game that I wanted to take a closer look at since it's a remake of the game that got me into JRPGs. So now that I've had a chance to play it for a few hours, I can share my impressions of what I've played so far and show you some new gameplay. From what I understand, the original story will be split into multiple parts, and based on what's been revealed so far, it seems like this game will be focusing on the Midgar portion of the story. During a presentation at the event, they said they want to cover the overall story in more detail, and they made it clear that this game would be just as long as any other numbered Final Fantasy title. Now that Midgar has gone from flat images in the original to a fully explorable 3D environment, it does seem like there'll be more for you to see. You can talk to citizens that react to things that are happening within the world, and you can interact with the environment by jumping over obstacles or climbing to access different locations. And you can find things like treasure chests with items and equipment around the city, and materia can be found on the ground or hidden in various places too. The parts of the game that I played were pretty intense, so I didn't really get a chance to do things like explore the city at my own leisure and pick up quests or see what things are like when you're not being hunted down by soldiers. But what I did see did leave a strong first impression. Gameplay wise, things are very different this time around. A lot of the core systems like materia, the ATB gauge and limit breaks are still around from the original game. But since this game has gone from a turn-based combat system to an action-focused one, some things have had to be reworked or expanded upon. The combat system is fairly simple on the surface. You have a normal attack, a unique character ability, you can block and evade, and you can use commands that allow you to choose from abilities, spells and items. But because of the new combat system change, new materia has been added that enhances the way you fight. Materia are items that can be slotted into equipment to give your characters things like elemental enhancements, stat boosts, magical abilities and summons, and there was one materia that I found that could change your basic combo after rolling. Using this materia on Cloud would change his basic attacks from normal slashes to a circular area attack that would pull enemies towards him, so that he could follow up with more attacks or special abilities once the enemies were gathered together. To use the actions within the command menu like abilities, spells and items during combat, you'll need to make sure your ATB or active time battle gauge is charged. In the sections that I played, the ATB gauge could have up to 2 charges stored for the commands you use during battle. The ATB gauge charges over time and as you attack, and selecting commands within a fight will consume different amounts of the gauge. For example, using items will consume 1 ATB charge for the most part, and certain special attacks and spells can consume 2 charges, which ended up being the whole ATB gauge in the section of the game that I played. When your ATB gauge is empty, you'll need to wait or attack to charge it again before you can use more commands. The only command that you could use that didn't seem to need the ATB gauge were limit breaks. Limit breaks are ultimate attacks that your characters can use once their limit gauge is fully charged. The limit gauge will charge as you're fighting during battles, but since limit breaks are powerful and take a bit of time to fully charge, it's probably a good idea to save them for tougher enemies or to get yourself out of a bad situation. I got to play as 4 different characters during the time I spent with the game: Cloud, Barret, Tifa and Arif. Cloud uses wide swings of his giant broadsword to hit multiple enemies at once, and with his unique ability on triangle, he can switch between the operator and punisher stances. In operator mode, you can move freely and attack enemies all around you, and in punisher mode your movement is limited and your attacks seem to be a bit more focused, but you have faster normal attacks and you can parry and counter enemies if they hit you while you're blocking. In the sections that I played, it seemed like Barret was the most important character to have in the party, since he could hit enemies that melee characters couldn't reach without having to spend their ATB gauge on magic. His unique ability is Overcharge, which lets him do a powerful charge shot on an enemy when you press the triangle button. But after using Overcharge, it does need a bit of time to recharge before he's usable again. It seems like Barret has a bit more health than the other characters, so he should be able to take a few hits if you need someone that can keep the attention of the enemy for a while. Tifa is one of the characters I wanted to get my hands on the most, since I usually gravitate towards characters that use their fists in action games. From what I played, it seems like she doesn't have as much reach as Cloud, since she mainly uses high-speed punches and kicks to attack. But she does make up for it by being able to deal a lot of damage to single targets. Tifa's unique ability Whirling Uppercut is a punch that launches her into the air, but after using the Unbridled Strength ability, it changes into Omni Strike, an attack that keeps her on the ground to deal damage with a powerful punch. And Arif is a character that I didn't have as much time to spend with as I wanted, but she's a magic focused character that attacks at range with a staff. Her triangle ability Tempest can be charged and seem to leave a trap near the enemy that deals damage once it detonates. Since she's not very mobile in a fight, it's probably a good idea to keep her away from enemies and attack them from a distance. She has good support abilities and magic that can help the other members of the party. But since it's easy to toggle between the different levels of potency for a spell, keeping your party members alive should be manageable. If you have more levels of a spell unlocked, you can press left or right on the spell in the command menu to select a higher or lower version of it. So a basic cure can become a curer if you need to make use of the extra healing. Another new addition to the combat system is the ability to pressure and stagger enemies. When you hit enemies with certain attacks or deal large amounts of damage, you can throw them off balance and leave them pressured. When this happens, you can continue to attack them with abilities and spells, and this will fill their stagger gauge that can be found under the enemy's health bar. Hitting the enemy with their weakness should increase this gauge faster, and once the enemy is staggered, they'll become defenseless for a while and take increased damage. If you use your character's unique triangle ability on a staggered enemy, you can charge your ATB gauge faster so you can deal even more damage. So if you do come across a tough enemy, taking advantage of their weaknesses and focusing on staggering them will be a good way to get through the fight. In the original game, you could summon creatures that would assist you in battles and unleash a powerful attack, and this is also the case for the remake. This time the summons stay on the field and continue to attack the enemy until their time runs out. After their time is up, they will unleash their ultimate attack. You can also use summon specific commands to make your summons do additional attacks, but it will consume a bit of the character's ATB gauge to do so. I don't think I actually saw summons being selectable in every fight, but from what I played it seemed like there were specific areas where they could be used, which does make sense since I was mainly in indoor areas while I was playing, and some of the summons are huge, so I'm sure that the larger summons can only be called when there's space available for them. I do have some gameplay to show you from the Airbuster boss battle that shows the summons and how the different elements of the combat system come together. Boss battles are very intense and keep you on your toes since you can't always predict what's going to happen next. I would have liked to have shown you an extended version of this fight since it's definitely worth seeing, but this battle does take place in one of the sections that I couldn't record for myself since there were things leading up to it that could spoil a few surprises for people. But Square Enix did send me some footage that they edited themselves of the gameplay, so at least you can all still see a bit of footage from this battle.
Bring in the heat! Coming at you hard fast!
Time to end this! Yeah! There! Got your number! Let's pour on the tape!
Got this! Here we go. Get him! Let's do this. All right. Don't overdo it.
Need my help, do you? Like that? You're up.
All set. Giving it my all. Pouring on.
This is going to be an important game. I feel like it's going to be the JRPG entry point for a lot of people, just like the original was for me back in the 90s. And for the people that played the original, the remake feels different enough that it seems like it'll be an entirely new experience, even if you have an understanding of the original story. Even in the brief time that I spent with the game, there were times where the nostalgia just hit me hard, like when certain remixes of the original boss battle music kicks in during some of the fights, or when the summons do their over-the-top ultimate attacks. The original Final Fantasy VII is dated by today's standards, but it's still a game that continues to be loved by many. I feel like if the rest of the game is as impressive as what I played, the Final Fantasy VII Remake will give people that didn't play the original the chance to experience the same feeling and level of enjoyment that many people felt when they played the original. The title of this video is probably going to be something dramatic like, "This is the best JRPG I've played in years," and that's probably just the nostalgia talking. But if the rest of the game is as good as what I've played so far in the preview, then this will definitely be the best JRPG I've played in a long time. Well, plus I'm a bit biased, this Final Fantasy and it's an action RPG, they're kind of two of my weaknesses. But that's all I have to share with you today. The Final Fantasy VII Remake will be releasing on the PlayStation 4 very soon, so you won't have to wait for too long until you get it into your hands. So if you want to see more action RPG videos from me, then don't forget to subscribe and click that bell, so you'll be the first to know when they're available. And if you enjoyed the video, a like would be appreciated. If you want to stay up to date with everything I'm doing, then you can follow me on social media. All the places you can find me are in the description. I'll be making some new videos very soon. But until I make those videos, I'll see you all later.